Dead Heat is a 1988 release horror comedy directed by Mark Goldblatt.
It stars Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo as two detectives in LA. At the start of the film, they're called to a robbery at a jewellery store. Two big guys with guns shooting up the place. One of the people in the shop manages to set off an alarm. So when they come out, there's lots of cops waiting for them. Then proceed to pump them full of lead. However, they don't go down. They just keep on coming and keep firing back. There's obviously something a bit strange going on there. The two cops, played by Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo, are called Roger Mortis and Doug Bigelow. So Roger and Doug do their best to stop this robbery, and they finally put down the bad guys. There's been a string of these robberies going on around the city with these strange guys who seem to be difficult to kill. So they perform autopsies on these guys. It turns out that one of them has already been to the morgue, which is odd. So that immediately sets off alarm bells, and they discover there's some sort of chemical compound in his blood that's a bit unusual. So they trace it to a local drug company and they go and investigate. Unfortunately, Roger is killed while they're investigating, but they have a miraculous machine that can resurrect people, so he's brought back to life. So he's then a zombie cop looking for revenge on whoever it is who killed him in the first place, and to try and discover what exactly is going on with these weird zombies that are popping up over the city. It's a strange one, to say the least.
It's Lethal Weapon meets Reanimator, really, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah, kind of.
I can imagine that's what the board meeting with all the producers and trying to greenlit it, that's what they wrote to, this will be a big seller. Because when did Lethal Weapon came out? It was 87, wasn't it?
Yeah, a year before, yeah.
So, and I mean, it is a strange one, this. But I have a friend who, apparently she used to watch this with her brother when she was younger. She suggested I watch it, so I watched it quite a long time ago now. It's an odd one. But it's got some good stuff in there. So just before it came out, it was kind of a bit of a hot topic. A lot of people were quite excited for it because of I think possibly because of who were behind it. It's obviously Mark Goldblatt, who, he's mostly famous for editing, well, for being an editor. I mean, he either edited or assisted editing things like Terminator, both Terminator films, Robocop I think he helped on. Lots of kind of big classic action films from the 80s and 90s, sci-fi action, all that kind of stuff. And then it had Steve Johnson, who was part of the visual effects, makeup effects and things like that, prosthetics. And I think he'd worked on things like The Abyss and Big Trouble in Little China and things like that. So he's obviously an interesting name in there. And then I think, just the kind of the idea, horror comedy, all that kind of stuff. So I think I was reading that apparently Fangoria magazine had written about it quite a few times before it came out. So it seemed to be like a hot thing. But then it kind of flopped quite badly, I think. And it hasn't gone, lots of people don't know about it. And I'd never heard of it, for one. And I've watched a lot of horror and comedies and zombie stuff. And obviously I know all the Reanimator films and all the buddy cop films. But I'd never heard... Had you heard of this?
I'd heard of it, but didn't really know anything about it.
I really enjoyed it. I can see why it maybe doesn't... Why it wasn't the hit it was. I think it's possibly not... It's not quite gory enough for gore fans.
No.
And it's not quite funny enough to work as a horror comedy. There's a lot of jokes in there that kind of miss the mark quite a bit.
I don't know if Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams have great chemistry, for a buddy cop movie. It's not too bad. It's not quite on the level of Riggs and Murtaugh. This
one's got some really interesting stuff in it. There's a great moment near the end of the film, without giving a spoiler, although there's not many spoilers to really give in this film, I don't think. But it's where Vincent Price is in it. It's one of Vincent Price's last films, not his last. I think his last film was Edward Scissorhands a couple of years later. He's talking about this resurrection machine that they've got, and he's basically telling all these old fogies they can live forever and maybe, screw their heirs of their inheritance. It's almost like there's another interesting idea in this film that could have gone further. But I think personally a lot of it kind of feels like it falls by the wayside a little bit. But it's got some great effects in there.
I think that's its strength, is the effects, definitely. There's some great practical stuff in there. Treat Williams is also really, really watchable in it. He's clearly having a lot of fun. The whole cast is clearly, having lots of fun, but he in particular, he's a great lead in it. And he's enjoyable to watch. It's not, the plot is pretty... If you think about it too hard, things don't make a lot of sense. They go to great lengths to show when Treat Williams cuts himself, but then doesn't bleed because he's dead. But then later on, when zombies get shot, they bleed all over the place. So, but it's not really the sort of film where you need to worry about that sort of thing. Just along for the fun, and yeah, it is a fun movie, and it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Come to this film for the sheer weird mentality of it. There was a great. When my friend told me about this film, she pointed out this crazy scene in a kitchen.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you watch it for anything, just watch it for that scene because it's brilliant.
They're going to Chinatown and they come into this kitchen, and then all these animals, these dead animals, start kind of coming to life and attacking them in strange ways. And it's pretty gruesome, and I think that's where this film shines, like you say. There are certain scenes in there where these kind of crazy practical effects take place. There's one near the end of the film, which is really, really good, and you must feel like most of the budget of the special effects went on that one scene. I won't give any spoilers.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's done really well, and I think that's where this film shines. Is definitely for its practical effects. There's a nice bit right at the beginning of the film when you get the duel heist, and they're outside shooting up the place. Treat Williams goes off, takes his lieutenant's car, drives down the street and then blows him away with a shotgun, and he spins around and he drives into the body, and it's a very clever. I think the editing is great because 1 minute he's standing there and the next obviously it's prosthetic, but it's very cleverly done. And obviously Mark Goldblatt is an editor, so I think it's actually a number of times in the film I found scenes that went on too long, and it's kind of interesting why he hadn't maybe worked his magic a little bit more on it, being an editor. It's got some great lines in there, and it's got some great set pieces, and that's kind of all there is really holding this film together, excuse the pun.
Apparently Joe Piscopo did ad-lib quite a few of his lines. Just some of the little jokes he throws in here and there, background being in Saturday Night Live. What it reminded me of was Return of the Living Dead. It has loads of great practical effects in it, but also doesn't take itself too seriously. It does have lots of comedy in it as well. And it does it shares a cast member as well, Leanna Quigley, who's like a sort of B-movie scream queen. Although I couldn't spot her, so I'm not sure if the scene that she was in was actually cut.
Okay, because there's also a cameo of Shane Black.
Yeah, he's there as well, yeah.
So Shane Black, famous from Predator. The original Predator, and didn't he write he directed the new one. Is that right?
He directed the new one. I can't remember if he wrote it. I'm not sure.
So it was his brother Terry Black that wrote this film. I think doing a horror comedy is quite a hard thing to do. Comedy is kind of one of the hardest things to do. And horror, well, straight up scary horror is pretty hard to do. This is not what this is trying to do. Like you say, it's more kind of Return of the Living Dead. And obviously it's a bit of Reanimator going on in there. Frankenhooker, that's another one that this possibly is similar to. That kind of a bit dumb, but lots of fun.
I think there were lots of sort of, Toxic Avenger, was it Troma, made loads of horror comedies, a Class of Newcomb High.
This is slightly Troma, this film as well, actually.
A little bit.
Maybe not quite as racy as those films.
No.
It's got some nice stuff in there. Yeah, so you can see this. Obviously, we are still in isolation. And so if you're in the UK at least, you can watch this on Amazon Prime because they've got it on there for free. Can you buy it?
There's Blu-ray, in the States and the UK. The UK one is released by 88 Films. Obviously do lots of cult movies. From the looks of it, it's quite a good release. It's got commentary on it and some other bits and bobs. It's got the deleted scenes. The US Blu-ray doesn't have any features on it, but there was an Anchor Bay DVD several years ago which did have extras on it.
So the Anchor Bay release DVD featured about 20 minutes of deleted and extra scenes. And then there was a Norwegian VHS release that also had some of those scenes, but actually I think there was a TV version of it. I think the Norwegian VHS used, but those scenes are better quality than the Anchor Bay release. There was a fan edit of this film with all those scenes kind of put back into it. I think they had to trim some of it because some of the jokes don't work and whatnot. There seemed to be some dream sequences and things like that, like you mentioned.
But yeah, I don't know if it's one you'd want to buy on disc as a blind buy. Maybe if you can check it out on Amazon, then maybe do that. And if you get a kick out of it, then I would seek out the discs, that has some of those extras on, so you can see those deleted scenes and learn a bit more about the making of it. Apparently there was the studio wanted a sequel, but can't really tell you what the writer said in response because it would be a bit of a spoiler.
It's probably a cult film for some people out there. Obviously my friend has grown up watching it. She sounds like she was very young when she watched this.
That's the thing, it's just, there's always films that might not be great, but if you catch them at the right age where they have an effect on you, they stick with you, and it doesn't matter how many times you see them or how old you get or you know, how rubbish you realise they actually are, you still love them anyway.
So that was Dead Heat, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Yep, hit the subscribe button there, and don't forget to push the bell for notifications. There's some other films to check out over here. Come and find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and join us next week for another video.